what is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review an unreleased project by Eminem. Basically, this product is called Straight from the Lab 2, and it came out in the late fall of 2011. Now, it's kind of a misnomer to say unreleased product here because it's actually more of an unofficial product that just with some leaked Eminem songs from around like the 2007 to 2011 era as far as this first kind of particularly happened. But basically, the composition of these 21 songs on this mixtape here, which is kind of it's a little bit patchy, kind of get this particular product just because Eminem within certain senses is still kind of sketchy within the concept of this being more melded with the public outings. It's kind of within the fair, it's kind of within the pitch as far as saying. I mean, for the most part, this album, this mixtape here is pretty vicious within the appeal. A lot of these leftovers and songs that Eminem was working on have some good appeals. I'm going to talk about these within the album format because basically the composition of these songs is the stuff that Eminem did, like I was saying, between 2007 to 2011. So it's not really as much like Hell the Sequel. There are a couple demos that wound up on Hell the Sequel. Basically, the product of the three albums that this album is particularly comprised of is basically between the eras of like King Mathers, the unreleased 2007 album, Relapse 2, some of the stuff that he was going to put out for the second 2009 album that was originally going to happen, and then a little bit of Recovery on there. It's just from the pitch, just 2010 musings as far as this pitch can happen. Some ones like some 2010 musings like Hit Me With Your Best Shot and Cocaine with Hit Me With Your Best Shot with D12 and Cocaine with Jasmine Sullivan, some of those type pitches. So it's just within the fair as far as saying, I do like some of these Recovery leftovers, some interesting type fare. There is a little bit of Detox type fare on here with the song Topless. Don't recommend that song, but still within the pitch as far as getting it. These Relapse songs are pretty excellent within the pitch, with the exception of the song Wee Wee. There's some ones on here. There's also I want to say there's like a little bit of product of maybe like the Eminem Presents the Re-Up. There might be a little bit of product of like Eminem Presents the Re-Up on here as far as this first going to happen. There's a couple of Obi Try songs that question where exactly the composition behind these were made. I think these were made after like the spring of 2006 because they're after Proof Pass as far as those first kind of particularly happened. But it's just within the pitch as far as in the composition behind it is just between like the eras, kind of more of like the product of Eminem's hiatus in like the mid-late 2000s and then also like the early 2010s within those fairs. So some interesting type eras kind of get these. A lot of these songs are pretty gems within the aspect. And some of these are real standouts for Eminem. These stand up to like some of Eminem's best songs. Maybe not in terms like full-bound kind of career highlights, but they're definitely pretty excellent. There's some ones on here that are really vicious and just kind of out of the ordinary for Eminem. It's not to say that these wouldn't be career highlights. It's kind of the pitch if it just had more meldings within the concept of just more casual consumption. I'd say that these would definitely be some vicious type ones that he could probably perform, and probably the crowds would probably thoroughly love it as far as this pitch can happen. I'd say there's songs like Oh No. I definitely feel like Oh No is one of the just overall the best songs on here. It has an excellent vicious hook that's very harrowing. Detroit Basketball, also known as Pass the Ball or Give Me the Ball, is a pretty excellent type of appeal within that. Hit Me With Your Best Shot's a real classic on a D12 follow-up, considering the fact that Eminem had not been on terribly many D12 songs past 2004. Good type pitch. Ballin' Uncontrollably is like some good Paul Wall type appeal. So there's just some good pitches on here. We'll definitely get to a bunch of these, but just to be able to say, so there's not really a single off this product, but I just look within the pitch, just the composition as to how this fair is going to happen. Out of 21 songs in here, I wound up at least recommending 11 that are original songs within the pitch, plus 3 songs that are plus 3 additional songs that are basically mixtape songs. In addition to those 11 songs, I wound up recommending 3 songs, which is in the mixtape Lil Wayne type format, just freestyling to other folks' instrumentals. That would bring it up to 14 out of 21. Then out of the remaining 7 songs out of the 21 left, I would say there's 4 songs that are just repeat songs from other projects, like 2 of which are on the Hell the Sequel Deluxe Edition, 1 of which is Going Crazy, which is on the D12 mixtape from 2011, which is a good type fair. It's called Fame on that particular product, and then Where I'm At is on the Lloyd Banks Deluxe Edition of his 2010 album. So it's just within the pitch. So basically 18 out of 21 you would think, okay, only not recommending 3 songs out of 21, you would think this would get a 10. But the concept of it is more 14 out of 21 within the pitch, which is 2/3 of the project. So this is going to get higher than a 6.5 and a 7 out of 10. But I'm going to say because it's a mixtape and it's free in the composition of it, it's not really full bound free, but it's just from the pitch that the reality of it, there's no real charge to these particular songs. So it's just an aspect as far as saying that basically before I go in on like the descriptions of this mixtape, I'll go ahead and say this mixtape is going to get an 8.5 out of 10. I look within the pitch as far as saying it has some real blistering type excellence on here. I do feel like for Eminem quality type stuff, considering his usual blistering type appeal, I was probably expecting there to be at least a few more type hits within the pitch, but really out of 21 songs, it's really only 3 I don't recommend. So just to say the 3 songs I don't recommend would just be Wee Wee, Topless, and then Syllables. which for the most part that's pretty standard. It's just more the composition that there's just 4 repeat songs that probably should have been replaced with something. I mean, I think for late 2011, early 2012, when this mixtape was being amalgamated, it was within the pitch that these are a little bit different. Some of these are demo type songs. The Echo and Living Proof are more in like a demo type format, but they're essentially the same songs they are on the hell the sequel albums. It's just in the pitch as far as saying that there's a few too many repeat songs within the pitch. I probably would have said maybe I definitely think another Relapse 2 song or two would have been an excellent type fair. Another song like Oh No on here would have been some excellent type fair to have gotten. And definitely some more recovery leftovers. I think a real concept when you think of Eminem leaked songs within the pitch, something that really is not as commonplace within the fold behind it. I think Eminem really held on to a lot of these batches of songs with the album Recovery from 2010. Have been some excellent type pitches. There are at least a couple like Cocaine and Fly Away and some of those type ones. There's at least another one I'm thinking of like I was gonna say Where I'm At, but that's actually on the Lloyd Banks album. But just songs like Fly Away and Cocaine, some of those type pitches, and the aspect of Hit Me With Your Best Shots, just within the appeal as far as saying, but just the composition as far as saying that recovery is really tight-lipped within the aspect. But it's just some good type appeals. I'm losing track of the point I was trying to say here, but just within the pitch as far as saying I'll go ahead and talk about the 3 songs I don't recommend on here, and then we'll get to the product of this album. So this is the pitch as far as saying I look within the composition. Basically, Wee Wee is just that same standard Eminem nonsense that he does with songs like Big Weenie and like Fack and some of those type ones. Just didn't pull it off as well. It's just kind of a Gallivant type song, pretty similar to Taking My Ball from like Relapse Refill within the pitch behind it. Just that typical kind of nonsense in the pitch. Just it was a little bit sporadic within the pitch behind it. I mean, I like the comps. I like the concept of it. Eminem was definitely on point in terms of the lyrics, but it just didn't really amount to much in terms of like the aspect behind it. I want to say this is probably from like the Relapse type era, or pretty much either Relapse or King Mathers within the pitch. I would say syllables. This was a good concept. I mean, this is a real star-studded type of appeal. Normally, I would have liked this song, but I just didn't like the lyric composition of this. Just them kind of dissing on like ringtone rap and not being admits to like lyricism and pitches like that. I realized that most of these folks on here are lyricists within the pitch. So it just felt like a concept, but just kind of like a bruising type song, a bruiser of a song to kind of get within that pitch. It just like the bad folks that like the game, kind of the bad boys and the badasses that like the game doing like some heroin type stuff to kind of comment on like the concept of more albums not selling that well. This was a product of a song that came out in 2007, back when ringtone rap and those sorts of things were kind of popping. But there's really nothing with ringtone rap. I mean, Eminem did pretty well on Ball and Uncontrollably. It's just in the pitch. I just didn't like the concept of how that particular song kind of turned out within the pitch. I like the fare behind the heavyweights on the song, and the beat's pretty good, but just the lyric composition was just not something I really agreed with. So it's just in the pitch about that one. And then I would have to say that Topless was just kind of a detox leftover, which is not a bad thing. It was just the concept that it just didn't have like a real catching production on there. I feel like there's probably better Dr. Dre productions. I can tell that when Eminem did his verse on that song, that he wrote that for Dr. Dre to rap to it, because it just felt like more of a Dr. Dre verse more than an Eminem one. But just the pitch just didn't have as much blistering type appeal. I feel like there's probably better detox leaks and pitches like that could have been a better time. So it just didn't have the appeal behind it. Yeah, I just look after here. So like I was saying, I'm going to give this mixtape like an 8.5 out of 10, because I feel like within the composition there probably could have been a few extra songs. Definitely think there should have been some more Relapse 2 leftovers or more Recovery leftovers, like I was saying, some of those type fares within the pitch, just more concepts within that. I mean, even I would have to say in certain senses. Now, the concept of it is, I want to say that King Mathers in certain senses, fans and folks like that have put together compositions of that particular album, so you can just, I probably at some stage will probably review the composition of King Mathers just from the pitch of having that particular project, and maybe eventually if there's a Relapse 2 one, I'll just review that one as well. But within the pitch, just as the assembly of this particular mixtape back in 2011, this was kind of a composition because these songs weren't as commonly around, but for the aspect behind it, it's still a pretty well above average mixtape within the appeal. It's definitely worth lapping up while it's still available, I'd have to say, because Eminem, it's just kind of the concept that it's just, it's just the pitch that it's just kind of dicey within the aspect. But, so yeah, talk about these 11 songs on here. Basically, like I was saying, Oh No is basically, in my opinion, like the best song on this album in terms of like the most vicious type of appeal. Is if you love Relapse, it's just the immediate one to go for, make a beeline for it. It's like a heroin kind of Relapse era twistedness to kind of get here, just a dark hallway just within the feel of it. I would have to say just a manic, it's like some manic kind of horror glitz kind of get within those concepts. It's a great enhancement of like the Relapse sound. So this easily feels like a Relapse 2 highlight within the pitch behind it. Just something from that particular era. It's continuing the concept of like Slim Shady Smith's adventures within it's the concept of continuing Slim Shady Smith's adventures as far as those first can happen, just within the appeal, like that typical kind of manicness and just the overall shrill factor, just that particular appeal. And the thing about the Relapse album is just the fact that that particular album really made horrorcore kind of commercial within the sense it probably was the most blistering compared to folks like ICP or Esham or folks like that who kind of did that particular aspect, and Brother Lynch Hung, who attempted to have some of that commercial aspect. I mean, Eminem obviously did it in spades within the concept, but I definitely think Relapse 2 would have been a great enhancement to see what could have happened within that appeal. This is just a real heroin type one. Just really gives some paranoia on that particular song. That's just really star-studded, so it's a good, nice one. But another Relapse 2 song within the pitch, looking for more of those type ones, would be Things Get Worse, and this has B.O.B. on there. It's like a Relapse style kind of manicness and like a neighborhood kind of saner romps that I had to say about it. And by saner romps, I mean it's manic, but it's just within the concept compared to Eminem's usual manicness that he conveyed on the Relapse or Relapse 2 albums. It's just within a little bit more kind of composed kind of composition about it. So it's good type tone, good song to smoke one to and grub to as far as those pitch can happen. So it's just good aspect there. It's an interesting concept to have gotten Relapse just with a little bit more neighborhood jaunts just about it within the aspect, just like Taco Bell runs some of those type pitches at just like a more relatively sunny day where most of it's not like 3 a.m. and like the pitch at night and just the horrorcoreness, like that typical concept, just kind of day type fare. It's kind of sauntering some of those type pitches, but still it's still kind of creepy within a sense, but it just does it with a little bit of like does it with a little bit of kind of gallivants about it. But those would be some ones within those aspects. So to talk about some of the recovery type songs, I feel like Cocaine is definitely another of this mixtape's highlights. I'd say real excellent type one. It's really a shame that this song didn't reach like commercial surface because it's a real excellent aspect. It's like a super obscure kind of highlight gem to kind of get here. Just hella hooky. I would definitely feel like Jasmine Sullivan really nailed this one real well. It's like a blissful, kind of lofty, indulgent kind of pastime within a sense. It's just the concept reminds me of something Rick Ross was kind of doing with Deeper Than Rap, just that kind of glossy type of appeal within the concept of it. Something like more debonair type stuff, just in a more enriching type fashion. It's just real nice. It's real great type robe type music within the pitch. It's real nice robe type music and just overall gloss within the appeal as far as those aspects going to happen. So it just has the aspect of just being able to have like some of that, just the aspect of being able to have some of that good glamour within the pitch. So it's just an aspect here. It's a comfortable type one. I would definitely say some smoking type tunes, but it just feels more of like cigar type music more so than the standard. This would not be as much Swisher Sweet type music or backwoods, just within the pitch a little bit more. The composition just feels like when you think of Tony Montana and like the Bubble Bath, some of those type pitches just within the tone as far as those aspects can happen, just a little bit more kind of lofty within the sense of just a little bit, just the debonairness about that particular one is just really emphatic type within the pitch behind. Just real like just something that like The Weeknd would have done in 2011. Some of those type pitches, just penthouse type music, so it's good type tone. Another one within those aspects within the recovery type era is Fly Away, and I would say Cocaine's a pretty good song for Bells. It's just out of character for Eminem as far as those pitch can happen. It's this thing to say about Cocaine. It's just I feel like this would have been a real obscure type one, probably wouldn't have fit the theme of recovery, so it just kind of felt strange. You would think it's basically from 2009 or 2010. It's just in the pitch. It just kind of felt like a demon of its own within the pitch, but it's a good type flair. But yeah, Fly Away is a nice one as well. This feels more like recovery within a sense. It's like a blue collar kind of hustler's makeshift breakthrough to kind of get here. I'd say just a cool recovery leftover. I'd say within those aspects, it's great for some nights. So it's just like one of those type ones, like the song he did with Pink, Won't Back Down. Some of those type of appeals. It's karaoke night. Some of those type aspects are just like that standard fare. I mean, it kind of meets you halfway with a little bit of mixtape type hustler's makeshift within the format of like that typical kind of starry-eyed grip, but just within a more concept of like a more commercial kind of breakthrough within it. Just kind of the concept of just being like an urban kind of like it's kind of like an urban kind of makeshift relief within the tones behind it. So it's just kind of blue collar, but it's also the aspect that just having that mixtape grit about it within the tone behind it. So it just really it nails the aspect of being able to do some of that. I mean, Recovery did that and pretty good handle within that particular aspect. But this is just one that had a little bit more particular kind of urban and suburban delight about it. So it's a good type pitch. Real nice one on here would be Ballin' Uncontrollably. Now this is one that feels like King Mathers, but this is another out of the ordinary type one just within the pitch as far as those particular things can go. This feels like definitely something that more Bubba Sparks and Paul Wall would have done. This is really super southern fried kind of Eminem. It's like a surprising kind of Texas fried kind of Cadillac swerve delight to kind of get here. Just a good song to get crunk to. I'd say within those fashions, just a good song to sip to. Just get some gold beers, get some Coronas, get some pitches like that. Just within that typical kind of commerce of this Cadillac type music and just more hitting up Popeye, some of those type places just within the pitch. Just when you think of folks like Slim Thug, Paul Wall, Pimp C, Bun B, some of those type folks just goes hand in hand with that. I definitely feel like Eminem needs to do more songs like this. With me personally, listening to more songs like within those magnitudes, I definitely think this would be a good aspect to get some of that. But it's a good type tone. So there's some other good moments from like the King Mathers type era. I'd say difficult to real nice ones, like a bruised and kind of morose sequel to When I'm Gone. I'd say here just a grand proof tribute. This particular song's like a grand proof tribute. I'd say within the pitch, the song that he made in terms of Proof's passing, which I don't think happened in 2006, but it might have. I think some somewhere in 2007, just in the pitch when he was amidst like his relapsing and pitches like that. I had to say just good for like a ruffled day. I mean, I definitely think Proof needed a song within those aspects. I just think the concept, Eminem really never made like a true song that made it to like commercial passage, but I just would say this would be a good, nice one to kind of have within those aspects to just being able to have that particular type of appeal. I mean, Puff Daddy did it pretty well with I'll Be Missing You. I think this definitely would have been a nice one. Maybe it wouldn't have had the commercial breakthrough. It may not have gotten to like the full bound kind of chart appeal, but it definitely had some appeal within those pitches as far as being able to have like that particular appeal. There's something, if you like the kind of heroin type moodiness of When I'm Gone, it's like within that same vein and fashion. So it's just basically like a spiritual sequel to that. It's very much similar. Emulate, it's another nice one. Both of these songs, both difficult, and Emulate have Obi Trice on there, so it's a good type pitch to get those 1-2 punches, because there's not super common too many Obi Trice Eminem type songs within more late 2000s, 2010s type fashion. But Emulate's like a dark and heavy kind of makes it. Emulate's like a dark and heavy kind of makeshift passage to kind of get here, just kind of like Recovery like. It's kind of like the Recovery album in like a super gloomy kind of atmosphere, I'd have to say about it. Just a real mucky type song can get within those pitches. It's a real mucky type one to kind of get within that appeal. And the thing about this particular mixtape here, the composition of some of these type songs, there's some ones on here like Things Get Worse and Fly Away, and then there's another one like Goat. Some of these type ones that do have like some makeshift passaging within the pitches behind it here. Just the concept of just like standard commerce and some of that type fare, just like in between type moments, not quite as full bound like attention grabbing. It's just kind of a concept that some of these type moments, when you think of just more of like drifting kind of commerce, just kind of on autopilot, some of that type of appeal, it just doesn't seemingly as commonly happen for Eminem within those pitches. Seems like for the most part it's always kind of the more personal kind of brewing in some of those type ones with the typical kind of rumination that Eminem kind of does, but it's just the pitch that some of these type ones actually work for some good commerce. So it has like, Emulate adds Obi Trice to the mix, but they both ruminate pretty well in this particular song, and it also works like a pretty good passage within the makeshift cut. Works like a pretty good passage within like makeshift type traverse within the pitch bond. So it just does that within a real good atmosphere. Some King Mathers type hits, I'd say. And then Goat is a nice one. So this is a good type pitch here. It's like a paced and the song Goat is like a paced and unnerving kind of evening commerce kind of get here. Just usual mania from Eminem, like a more workaday fashions within the pitch behind it, I'd have to say. Goat's another one that feels like from the King Mathers era as far as those pitch can happen. Probably 2007, maybe even 2008, just from the pitch, just within the appeal. But it's kind of one that doesn't really fit a particular theme of Eminem as far as this pitch can happen. It doesn't feel like a relapse album or a recovery album within those pitches, but it also doesn't really feel like King Mathers either. It just feels like a spare type song within the aspect. It's kind of an uncommon era for Eminem. Makes me question the real concept of it. Just another makeshift type one, very similar to Emulate, some of those type of ones. Also very similar to Things Get Worse, just more neighborhood type outings within the pitch behind it. Just more pedestrian. Interesting aspect that Eminem was a little bit more ground level in this particular product, because there are some ones like, I don't know if I talked about the Apple, but that is another one that kind of did that as well. The Apple is like Eminem's take on like neighborhood kind of city romps. So I'd have to say here to good fashion for that. Just some New York kind of 2010s mixtape flavor about this particular song. It's just an overall lit one. So just like the mixtape grid of a song like Hit Me With Your Best Shot, the D12 song with just within the pitch of just a little bit more neighborhood type fare within it. Just the aspect of like something that feels like Jay-Z would have done if he was a lot more pedestrian. Just has like tasted like the blueprint through within the pitch behind it, but I kind of feel like this came out before the blueprint 3. I mean, this has like the particular aspect of 2010's mixtape flavor, but it just feels like I don't know if this was something Eminem was working on for Recover. I think this was probably another King Mathers type one or just another spare type one like Goat as far as those pitch gonna happen. This feels like within the tone as far as saying that this feels like Eminem's take on like some New York kind of city romps. This kind of aspect of doing like a song that like Biggie or Jay-Z would have kind of done. Folks like that, Mobb Deep, some of those type folks from the East Coast, just a more city type fashion. So it's just a little bit kind of this aspect of this more kind of traverse just within the out and about of just like social commute pitches like that. Just kind of more on foot and just more neighborhood type fare. I don't know if I talked about Give Me the Ball either, but this is a nice one. This is a real nice bounce of a song here. This is a different product of something, just a sports song kind of. It's like a good sports song type song from Eminem as far as those pitch can have a good aspect for that. It's like a game night, kind of bright lights, gliss kind of get here. Just a Friday night glamour, I'd have to say about this particular song. Some promo kind of fat. Song would definitely be some promo kind of fraternized as far as those pitch can have. So just the product of just like social kind of sports night, some of that type of appeal, whether it is just hitting up like a football game, basketball game, baseball game, some of those type pitches. So there's going to be some bright lights just from the pitch as far as saying it's typical type fashion just within the aspect. I mean, Eminem started to make more songs like this later, like Phenomenal, getting into like the boxing type fare within some of those type pitches, like with Southpaw and some of those type fares. There's some other ones from like Music to Be Murdered by, some of those type pitches, but it's just a good aspect to kind of see it's a good aspect to kind of see some of that particular type fare, just more more kind of just like sports game type appeals. You know, folks like Outkast would do these sorts of songs with like Mighty O and like Morris Brown and some of those type pitches in like a football type sense, just more bleachers type music. But it's a good type of appeal to be able to get some of those aspects from Eminem as far as those pitches can happen just within like a more starry type fashion. Just Friday Night Lights type bliss within a good aspect for some of those type ones. This definitely has a certain kind of competitive type flash about it. Now, I don't know if I talked about Hit Me With Your Best Shot. This is the D12 song. I might have talked about this one. I think I did. Maybe I didn't. I don't remember. It's full bound. But basically, Hit Me With Your Best Shot is like a leftover from like basically 2010. This is supposed to be on Relapse 2. It doesn't have like the accents on there like some of these other type songs from Relapse 2. But it's a good concept. It's like a glittery kind of throwback D12 grit to kind of get within these aspects here. It's some mixtape kind of bright lights, hunger, I'd have to say, within the aspect behind it. So it's basically just like getting one of those type songs that like Yo Gotti and Meek Mill, some of those type folks would do off of like Dream Chasers and Cocaine Music, some of those type projects by those particular folks, Rick Ross, some of those particular folks, Waka Flocka, folks like that, just from the pitch, just getting D12 and Eminem even within those pitches. Now Eminem's on the last verse, really feels more of like recovery era Eminem more so than relapse, just in the pitch. This would have been a good, nice one to have gotten. This is like a true throwback to like the days, probably just within the aspect of realizing that Eminem's probably not going to be on too many, that he's not going to be on too many further D12 type songs within the pitch, but it's just a good aspect to get that one. Just look within the tone as far as saying this really has that mixtape particular flavor about it. So it's just a good type tone. Bizarre's on the song. The rest of D12 are a good chunk of D12s on this particular song. So it's a good type pitch for that. It's that usual kind of starry type grit within it. So it's a good concept here. Talk about the 3 mixtape songs within the pitch. Basically, I Get Money. It's a great song to hear Eminem freestyle too as far as this pitch can happen. Great 50 Cent song. Eminem nails it pretty well. Hello, Good Morning. The Puff Daddy song from I forget what it's called, The Last Train to Paris is a good, nice one to have gotten a nice remix to. Eminem does pretty good with that one. Definitely needed to surface like an official, since all 3 of these need to surface like that. And Celebrity Remix, which is originally like a Lloyd Banks song that had Akon on the hook, is a good, excellent type one. So yeah. Eminem was originally already on a song from the Lloyd Banks album as far as this first gonna happen. I just question if Lloyd Banks didn't want to have Eminem on there too many times, but it's too bad that he didn't, because the concept of this was a pretty excellent type song. Just a real nice club type bounce within the pitch. Just good concept, get recovery era type Eminem within some of those type fares. So this particularly nails it. So I think that's the concept about this particular mixtape here as far as those pitch can have. I think I talked about every single one within those fares. So yeah, this mixtape gets an 8.5 out of 10. The Social Score I'll probably give like a 9 out of 10 just within the pitch. I feel like this is pretty blistering within the appeals. I like some of these new flavors that Eminem particularly gives on this particular product. Some good aspects here. The Southern Friedness of Ballin' Uncontrollably is real nice. The City Hops of songs like Hit Me With Your Best. City Hops of songs like The Apple and Things Get Worse and some of those type pitches, and Goats. And City Hop of songs like The Apple and Things Get Worse is some good, nice appeal. The neighborhood type romps pitches like that. The sports game type appeal, Give Me the Ball. Oh No is like a real heroin type Relapse 2 type song within the pitch, real vicious. I like the loftiness of Cocaine. I like the sequel, The When I'm Gone with Difficult, great tribute to Proof. Emulates a pretty nice brooding type one and like a typical kind of dark kind of Thursday night or just weekday type commerce within like some makeshift slag. Flyaway is pretty good recovery left over for like some night kind of social step out. So there's just pitches like that on here as far as those aspects going to happen. Goat's like a good unnerving kind of commerce within the pitch, just a little bit of frantic kind of travel. So it's just within the pitch. A lot of these are just some new moments from Eminem that just never surface on his album. So it's just interesting that even these spare songs that Eminem probably didn't want to see the light of day within certain aspects just happen to be some nice aspects of like some good ideas that probably should have surfaced just because there's topics and covers that he doesn't typically cover. So it's a good aspect just to get some of these type ones. So this might as well be like a pseudo kind of official project. I feel like it has enough notability where this could get enough attention where it should be considered as such. Even if it doesn't have the composition like the official stamp, I would definitely consider within that pitch just because the quality of these particular ones is good enough to be the point of saying that this is worth the notoriety of getting attention. So I just would say that's the aspect behind it. It's a 9 social. In terms of the future, like Eminem just recently put out The Death of Slim Shady and the deluxe edition of that album throughout 2024. Did relatively good within the pitch. I mean, it's kind of here and there within the reception. He's usually polarizing these days, but I gave that particular album when I reviewed it back in late 2024 a 10 out of 10. So that is a classic. Do recommend it. It's a vicious 2024 album within the pitch. But recently, as of the most recent thing that's been happening circa Eminem has been Straight from the Lab 3 that came out in early 2025. So some pitches like that. I'm probably going to start to review some of these unofficial Eminem mixtapes because that's the only thing I have left. Now, there is an Eminem EP I want to get to that's pretty secret within the concept. There is like a Bad Meets Evil mixtape, but some of those type of appeals. I do have some more Eminem projects to get to, but this is like pretty close to a classic within the viciousness. guess. If it had more composition about being more available and just the commonplace of just being more accepted, I'd probably give it a higher score. But System of the Pitch, for the most part, it delivers on most fronts, and it's pretty dynamite type project.